The twin suns of New Terra rose over silver-blue oceans and endless green fields. The colony looked peaceful, almost perfect. Children ran through the streets of glass and steel, chasing small drones that painted light trails in the sky. Farmers checked their crops under glowing domes, and explorers prepared to venture out into the alien wilderness. For over 50 years, New Terra had been humanity's dream, a world far from Earth, built with hope, courage, and hard work. The people there believed they were safe. They had walls, defense grids, and treaties with nearby alien civilizations. They thought war was something that happened long ago, back in the dark days of Earth's past. But peace can be fragile, and silence can hide danger. It started with something small. One morning, communication with Earth suddenly stopped. The colony's network officers tried to reconnect, thinking it was just a solar flare or a relay issue. Hours passed. No response. They sent messages again and again into the deep, black sky. Still nothing? Governor Lara Hale, a calm and strong woman, stood at the command balcony looking out over the city. "Try every frequency," she ordered. "Someone out there must hear us." The technicians worked in silence. The only sound was the soft hum of the computers and the beating of their own hearts. That night, 2 scout ships were sent to check the nearest relay station orbiting the outer moon. The crew waved goodbye to their families. Everyone expected them to return in a few hours, but they never did. Their signals disappeared midway through the journey. No distress call.
Ow.
No explosion, just silence. The colony started to whisper. Fear crept through the streets like a cold wind. Children asked their parents why the stars looked different. Soldiers checked their weapons quietly. Some people packed small bags and waited near the spaceport, just in case. Then came the night when the sky changed. At first, the observers thought it was a meteor shower, small flashes of light far above the planet. But the flashes didn't fade away. They grew brighter. Closer, Governor Hale rushed to the defense tower. Through the wide viewing glass, she saw hundreds of dark shapes moving against the stars. Her blood turned cold. "Contact incoming," the officer said, voice trembling. "Unidentified ships, approaching fast." The defense grid came online, blue shields glowing across the city. Anti-orbital cannons rotated into position. But it was too late. The first blast hit the outer colony at 20 to 47 local time. The ground shook. Buildings collapsed in flames. A second explosion tore through the power core in the East District, lighting up the night sky like a new sun. People screamed. Sirens echoed through every street. The alien ships were not trying to conquer. They were trying to erase in orbit. The colony's defense fleet, only 37 ships, launched desperately to fight back. They fired railguns, missiles, and plasma bolts into the darkness. For a brief moment, it looked like they might hold the line. But then, hundreds more alien ships emerged from hyperspace. The defenders were crushed within minutes. Governor Hale watched from the command balcony as the alien bombardment rained down. The entire horizon burned. Her communications officer cried, "Governor, the command network is collapsing. We're losing everything." "Keep transmitting," Hale said, her voice steady, but her eyes full of sorrow. "If Earth can hear us, they must know what happened here." She stepped in front of the camera, bruised and covered in dust. The room shook around her as explosions thundered outside. "This is Governor Lara Hale of New Terra," she said. "We are under attack. Unknown alien forces, they came without warning. Our defenses are falling. If anyone receives this, humanity must remember us." Final explosion cut the transmission. The image faded into static. For a few seconds, the world went quiet. Only the burning sound of the dying colony filled the air. Above the planet, the alien ships drifted in formation, their black holes shining under the twin suns. One by one, they turned and vanished back into hyperspace, leaving nothing behind but fire and ash. The last survivor, a damaged drone floating in orbit, recorded everything. The destruction, the silence, the end. Its signal, weak but steady, carried through space, searching for someone to listen. Days later, far away across the void, deep within the Solar Defense Command on Earth, A technician heard a faint beep on his monitor. He adjusted his headset, confused. The signal was old, broken, barely readable. But when he restored the last few seconds of the transmission, the room went completely silent. Governor Hale's final words echoed through the speakers. "If anyone receives this, humanity must remember us." Everyone stared at the screen. Some officers clenched their fists. Others turned away, unable to watch the ruins of their own people. And then, in the shadows of the command room, Admiral Reyes spoke for the first time. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with fury. "They destroyed one of our worlds," he said quietly. "Find out who did this." The officers looked at him, waiting, and then he continued, "Tell the fleet to prepare. Humanity will answer." The screen faded to black. The stars outside the window glimmered coldly. As if watching, the silence was over. The storm was coming. The signal from New Terra traveled through space for days, crossing the cold, empty void between stars. It passed broken satellites, dead relays, and silent comets until it finally reached Earth, in the heart of the planet's most secure base. The Solar Defense Command, a tired technician named Evan Carter, noticed a blinking red light on his console. At first, he thought it was just another false alert. But when he played the recording, his face went pale. A voice filled the command room, a woman's voice, calm but full of pain. "This is Governor Laura Hale of New Terra. We are under attack." The room froze. Everyone turned toward the speakers. The sound was broken, full of static and explosions. But the message was clear. The colony was gone. Within minutes, the report reached the highest levels of command. A secure meeting was called inside Command Chamber 1, deep beneath the mountains of Geneva. Around the massive circular table sat Earth's most powerful leaders, admirals, generals, scientists, and representatives from every human colony. At the center of the room stood Admiral Jonathan Reyes, commander of the Terran fleet. He was an older man, broad-shouldered, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many wars. The room waited for him to speak. Reyes pressed a button on the console, and the holographic display lit up. The broken video from New Terra appeared in front of everyone, Governor Hale's final message. Her face flickered, her voice shaking. "Unknown alien forces, they came without warning. Our defenses are falling. Humanity must remember us." The video ended. Silence filled the room. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Then one of the council members spoke softly. "Is there any chance anyone survived?" A communications officer answered quietly, "No, sir. The surface is gone. Nothing left but ashes." Another voice, sharper this time. "Who did this?" "The Zathari. The Vorn. The Coalition?" "No known species has claimed responsibility," the officer replied. "No messages, no warnings." Reyes leaned forward. "Find out who immediately." The council began to argue, some shouting for diplomacy, others demanding retaliation. "We can't rush into another interstellar war," said Minister Corvin, a man more concerned with politics than people. "We don't even know who attacked us." Reyes stood slowly. His voice was low but firm. "Someone destroyed a human world. A colony of families, children, scientists. They didn't invade. They erased them. You call that a misunderstanding?" The room fell quiet again. Then, from the far end of the table, a young officer spoke hesitantly. "Sir, what do we tell the colonies?" Reyes looked out through the transparent ceiling, where stars glittered faintly in the distance. "Tell them the truth," he said, "that humanity has been attacked, and that we will answer." Outside the chamber, news spread quickly. Across every world, Luna, Mars, Titan, Europa, and the outer colonies' screens lit up with the breaking announcement. New Terra destroyed. No survivors. People stopped what they were doing. In factories, in spaceports, in schools, silence. Then anger. Then determination. Earth began to move. The massive orbital shipyards above the planet came alive, lights flickering across their enormous metal frames. Engineers raced to their stations. Soldiers packed their gear. Pilots reported to their carriers in less than 12 hours. Humanity's greatest weapon, the Terran Grand Armada, began to assemble. 700,000 warships. Each one built from the lessons of centuries of conflict. Each one ready to fight, from small escort ships to massive dreadnoughts the size of cities. The fleet stretched across the orbit like a second planet of steel. Admiral Reyes stood on the command deck of TSS Vengeance, Earth's flagship. The giant window in front of him showed the growing fleet, endless lines of glowing engines, formation lights, and shimmering shields. His second in command, Commander Lin, approached. "Sir, we've received authorization from the High Council. Full mobilization approved." Reyes didn't look away from the stars. "What about the colonies?" "They're standing with us, sir." "Every one of them?" Reyes nodded. "Good. Send the signal." Lin hesitated. "What should I say, Admiral?" Reyes turned toward him, eyes cold and steady. "Tell every ship, every soldier, every pilot, that we fight for New Terra." The command went out through every channel, a simple message repeated across light years. For New Terra. All across human space, the words became a vow. On distant mining colonies, workers stopped to salute the sky. On Mars, pilots climbed into their fighters. On Titan, engineers painted the name New Terra. Onto the sides of their ships, humanity was no longer afraid. They were angry. Deep in his quarters, Admiral Reyes looked at the stars and thought of Governor Hale's message one last time. He whispered quietly to himself, "They wanted us to remember. We will." The fleet's engines ignited one by one, glowing blue against the darkness. A quiet voice came through the comms. "Admiral, where are we going first?" Reyes stared at the endless black void, his reflection caught in the glass. "To find whoever did this," he said, "and to make them wish they hadn't." The stars outside seemed to shimmer, as if warning the galaxy that something unstoppable had awakened. Humanity had heard the call. And this time, they would not wait. The engines of 700,000 warships glowed across the darkness of space. Humanity had gathered its strength, but strength alone meant nothing without a target. Someone had destroyed New Terra, and now, every ship, every soldier, and every world waited for one answer. Who did it? For weeks, Admiral Reyes ordered deep space patrols, scouts, and intelligence drones to scan every known sector. Thousands of listening stations across the colonies picked up fragments of transmissions, energy signatures, and strange coded bursts, all pointing toward one region, the Outer Rim. A lawless border beyond human control. The first lead came from a cargo vessel called Wanderer's Hope. The ship limped into Mars orbit, half destroyed. Its crew was silent and pale, their eyes full of fear. They had seen something, a fleet of dark ships moving like shadows through the void. No markings, no signals, only silence. Their captain said one thing before collapsing. They weren't pirates. They were organized. Reyes studied the report in his command room aboard the TSS Vengeance. Around him, the officers discussed possibilities. Commander Lin pointed to the holographic map. "Admiral, we've compared the energy signatures from New Terra with the debris found near the Wanderer's Hope. It's a match." Reyes frowned. "That means whoever attacked New Terra passed through the rim." "Yes, sir," Lin replied. "And we think we know who." He pressed a button, and the hologram shifted. A new image appeared, the Zethri Dominion, an ancient alien empire known for its pride and brutality. They ruled hundreds of systems and saw other species as lesser beings. Reyes narrowed his eyes. "The Zethri. I thought they signed the Neutrality Accord after the Centauri conflict." "They did," Lin said. "But there are reports that their High Lord died last year. His successor might be less patient." Reyes stared at the hologram of the alien symbol, a curved blade wrapped around a dying star. "If the Zethri did this, they've declared war on humanity, whether they admit it or not." He turned to the communications officer. "Send a message to all intelligence units. I want proof, not rumors, evidence." 3 days later, a covert team of human recon pilots entered Zethri space under stealth mode. Their ship, Shadow Spear, was small and fast, invisible to most sensors. The crew of 5 moved quietly through the dark, their faces tense. Their mission was simple: find evidence linking the Zathari to the new Terra attack. As they approached a massive asteroid field near the Zathari home system, they detected something strange: wreckage floating between the rocks. Human wreckage. The pilot gasped. That's one of our defense ships, the Aegis class. They scanned the fragments. The hull markings confirmed it. The Aegis had been part of New Terra's defense fleet. Commander Rhea Dax, the recon leader, whispered. Then we're close. They continued deeper into the asteroid belt and soon saw it as Zathari War Depot, hidden inside a hollow moon. Hundreds of alien ships docked there, their hulls black as obsidian. At the center of the base, floating under powerful lights, was a human satellite, cracked and melted, with the emblem of New Terra still visible. Rhea clenched her fists. There's our proof. She activated the drone recorder. Command, this is Shadowspear. We found it. Repeat, we have confirmed Zathari involvement. Transmitting now. Before she could finish, alarms blared across the alien base. Stealth field compromised, shouted the pilot. Dozens of Zathari fighters launched from the moon's surface, glowing red against the darkness. The shadow spear turned sharply, engines burning hot. Punch it, Rhea yelled. The small human ship raced through the asteroid field as alien lasers tore through the rocks. Explosions flashed all around them. Transmit the data. She ordered. The comms officer hit the button just as a plasma bolt struck their rear engine. The ship spun out of control, alarms screaming. We've lost stabilizers. Rhea took a deep breath. As long as the transmission got through, another explosion filled the cockpit with light. The shadow spear vanished. Hours later, deep within the Solar Defense Command, the transmission arrived. The image was broken and static-filled, but clear enough. The Zathari crest, alien ships, and the remains of New Terra's defense fleet. Admiral Reyes watched the video in silence. Around him, officers murmured in disbelief. Commander Lin spoke softly. There's no doubt now, sir. It was the Zathari Dominion. Reyes closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them, cold and steady. Then it's official, he said. We're at war. He turned toward the star map, where thousands of red markers showed the Zathari's vast empire. Prepare the fleet, he said. We move soon. Lin hesitated. Admiral, do we announce it to the public? Reyes shook his head. Not yet. Let the people sleep one more night. They'll wake up to vengeance. He looked out the window at Earth below, glowing blue and calm. They burned one of our worlds, he whispered. Now we burn theirs. Outside, the stars seemed to flicker, as if the universe itself could sense what was coming. The search was over. The enemy had been found. And humanity was ready to strike back. The stars above Earth glowed faintly, unaware that the most powerful armada in human history was about to awaken. After confirmation of the Zathari attack, Admiral Reyes knew there was no turning back. The time for waiting was over. The time for vengeance had come, from the orbit of Earth to the far edges of Mars. The order echoed through every frequency, every channel, and every shipyard. Mobilize the Terran armada.
Within hours.
The silence of space was broken by the roar of engines. Massive hangar doors opened on the orbital shipyards, releasing ships that had been sleeping for decades, destroyers, carriers, dreadnoughts, and cruisers. Each ship glowed with blue energy as their reactors came alive. Workers on the platform stopped and stared as hundreds, then thousands, and finally hundreds of thousands of warships rose into position. The fleet stretched across the stars like a silver sea. It was beautiful and terrifying. On Earth, people gathered in cities and colonies to watch the live broadcast. Holographic screens showed the massive ships forming in orbit. Children pointed in awe. Families stood hand in hand. Soldiers saluted the sky. Everywhere the same phrase was spoken: for New Terra. Factories on Mars worked day and night, producing weapons, armor, and supplies. Engineers barely slept. Pilots trained in simulators until their hands bled. Humanity had one purpose now: revenge. on the flagship TSS Vengeance. Admiral Reyes stood at the central viewing deck. Before him, the vast armada floated in formation, silent but alive. His second-in-command, Commander Lin, approached. "Sir, final count confirms 700,000 ships ready for deployment. All fleets report combat ready." Reyes nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the stars. "And civilian evacuation routes?" "All secured, sir. The colonies are fortified." Reyes remained silent for a moment. The weight of command pressed on his shoulders. 700,000 lives, no millions, waited for his next word. He turned toward the communication console. "Patch me through to the fleet." A light blinked. "You're live, Admiral." Reyes took a breath and spoke, his deep voice steady and filled with emotion. "Men and women of the Terran fleet, today we stand on the edge of history." New Terra was not just a colony. It was a symbol of courage, of peace, of humanity's dream to live among the stars. Zathri Dominion destroyed that dream. They burned our home. They killed our people, thought we would hide. They thought fear would silence us. But they have forgotten who we are. We are humanity, the builders, the survivors, the warriors. Every ship, every soul among you carries the fire of Earth. Today, we take that fire and carry it into the dark, not for conquest, not for glory, but for justice, for New Terra. The final words echoed through every ship, every corridor, every cockpit. Thousands of soldiers raised their fists. Pilots slammed their helmets shut. Captains saluted the flag projected on their command decks. The response thundered through the CUM network for New Terra. Moments later, the order came. "Admiral Reyes, to all fleets prepare for jump sequence." Navigation officers began to chant coordinates. Reactors hummed louder as hyperspace engines charged. One by one, the ships formed in perfect alignment, a wave of light stretching across the void. From the viewing deck of the Vengeance, the sight was breathtaking, thousands of ships glowing with white and blue energy, ready to vanish into the stars. Commander Lin whispered softly, "So it begins." Reyes stood tall, eyes hard as steel. "No," he said. "It continues." He raised his hand. "Execute jump." In a single moment, the entire human fleet disappeared. Space twisted and folded. Light stretched into endless lines. A thunder-like ripple echoed across the galaxy as the armada entered hyperspace. The stars themselves seemed to blink, and then all was quiet again. Far across the galaxy, in the Zathri home system, alien commanders were unaware of what was coming. They celebrated their victory over the humans, mocking their primitive ships and fragile colonies. They didn't know humanity had built something far greater than anyone imagined, not just machines of war, but a will forged in loss. In the darkness between the stars, the Terran fleet sped closer, faster than light, inside the Vengeance. Admiral Reyes stood alone in the observation chamber, watching the hyperspace currents swirl around the ship like blue fire. He thought of New Terra, of the message that had started it all. He could still hear Governor Hale's voice in his mind. "If anyone receives this, humanity must remember us," he whispered to himself. "We remember." A quiet alarm pinged on the console. The countdown had begun. Arrival at Zathar Prime in T-minus 2 hours. Reyes nodded slowly. "Then let's make history." Turn to the crew. "Prepare all divisions. Once we arrive, we strike fast and hard. Show them what it means to wake a sleeping giant." The officers saluted. "Yes, sir." The fleet continued to race through hyperspace. 700,000 warships burning with one shared purpose, vengeance. The narrator's voice, for your YouTube tone, could close this part with, "Across the stars, silence gave way to fire." The Zathri thought they had crushed humanity. They were wrong. The march had begun, and the galaxy would never forget what came next. The blackness of hyperspace cracked open like shattered glass. One by one, Earth's 700,000 warships emerged into real space, engines glowing, hulls shining like burning stars. Before them lay the Zathri home system, 5 planets circling a red sun. At the center, glowing with alien light, was Zathur Prime, capital of the Dominion. For centuries, the Zathuri believed their empire was untouchable. Today, that belief would die. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the TSS Vengeance, staring at the massive holographic display. Enemy ships filled the screen, hundreds, maybe thousands, swarming around Zathur Prime like insects. Commander Lin turned from the console. Admiral, the Zathuri have deployed their defense fleet. We're reading heavy plasma signatures and orbital cannons. Reyes nodded slowly. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with purpose. Then we won't disappoint them. He looked around the bridge. All ships, battle formation Delta 7. Bring main cannons online. No ship fires until my order. Yes, sir. Across the vastness of space, the Terran Armada moved as one. Carriers opened their hangars, releasing waves of fighters. Destroyers and cruisers spread out like a silver storm. The soundless black of space became alive with light engines. Shields, weapons charging in perfect rhythm. The Zathuri fleet responded quickly. Their warships, sleek, blade-shaped vessels, formed a massive wall of energy and firepower. Alien commanders barked orders in harsh voices, convinced the humans would soon break under their power, but they underestimated what drove the Terrans, not conquest. Not pride, but revenge. On the bridge of the Vengeance, sensors flared red. Zathuri. Fleet closing distance, Admiral. Reyes stared ahead. The alien ships filled the viewport like a storm of fire. He raised his hand slowly. Target their forward fleet. Lock all batteries. And fire. The black void exploded. Thousands of human warships unleashed their fury at once. Blue plasma beams and kinetic rounds shot across the darkness, tearing through alien shields. Zathuri ships erupted in flames, debris scattering across the system. The aliens fought back, their red plasma bolts cutting through space like lightning. A Terran destroyer vanished in an instant, then another, Vengeance taking hits on lower shields. Shouted Lin. Hold position, Reyes ordered. We don't back down. The two fleets clashed in a chaos of light and fire. Space itself seemed to tremble. In the cockpit of a human fighter, Lieutenant Caraholt gripped her controls. Her squadron dived through enemy lines, weaving between laser fire and explosions. Squad Delta, with me, she shouted. Target their carrier engines. Her ship spun through a hail of plasma, engines screaming. She fired 2 torpedoes, both hit. The alien carrier burst apart, sending burning fragments across the void. Nice shot, Delta 1, came a voice through the comms. Kara smiled faintly. For New Terra, she whispered. Meanwhile, the Zathuri command ship watched the chaos unfold. Their high commander, a tall, scaled being with cold silver eyes, bared his fangs. These humans are reckless, he hissed. End them. Thousands more alien reinforcements warped into the battle. For a moment, the balance shifted. Human ships began to fall. The Zathuri flagship turned its massive cannons toward the Vengeance. Admiral, Lin shouted. They're locking on us. Reyes didn't flinch. Divert power from secondary weapons to shields. I want all batteries focused on their command ship. But sir, do it. The alien flagship fired first. A massive red beam cut through space, hitting the Vengeance head-on. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms screamed. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Shields down to 60%. Reyes gritted his teeth. Return fire. Full power. The Vengeance's main cannons glowed white-hot. The ship's frame vibrated from the energy building inside. Fire. 3 blinding beams erupted from the bow, striking the Zathuri flagship dead center. The alien shields flared, flickered, then shattered. A final torpedo from the Vengeance tore through the hull. The explosion was so bright it lit the entire sky. When the light faded, the alien command ship was gone. A stunned silence followed across the comms. Then cheers erupted through every Terran channel. But the battle was far from over. Thousands of alien ships still fought fiercely. The Terrans kept pushing wave after wave, ship after ship, refusing to retreat. Admiral Reyes watched as both sides burned. He knew the cost was high, but humanity could not afford mercy. Push them back, he ordered. Drive them out of their own sky. The Zathri began to falter. Their formations broke. Ships fled. The once-proud Dominion fleet turned into chaos. Reyes stood tall as the last alien cruiser exploded in flames. He whispered quietly, "It's over." Commander Lin nodded. "The field is ours, sir. Zathri Prime is defenseless." Reyes looked at the burning planet ahead, the heart of the Dominion. "No," he said. "Not yet." He opened the fleet com channel. "To all Terran ships, the battle is won, but the war is not. Begin orbital bombardment. We finish what they started." The human fleet turned its guns toward the planet. Thousands of cannons glowed white. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. Then Earth's vengeance fell from the sky as the surface of Zathri Prime burned. A single line echoed through the narration, powerful. Cold final, they destroyed one human world, and for that, humanity destroyed an empire. The fires of Zathri Prime burned for days. Once the proud capital of a vast alien empire, it was now silent, a planet of smoke, ash, and ruins. The sky that had once glowed gold was now black. The cities that had reached for the stars were nothing but dust. The Zathri Dominion, the empire that had destroyed New Terra, was gone, and humanity had won. Admiral Reyes stood on the observation deck of the TSS Vengeance, staring down at the planet below. From this height, he could see the scars of war spread across the surface, burning continents, shattered oceans, and the ruins of the alien fleet still floating in orbit. Around him, the command deck was quiet. No cheers, no music, no celebration, only silence. Commander Lin approached softly. "Sir, the Zathri forces have surrendered. Their last message requests mercy." Reyes didn't answer immediately. He kept watching the planet, lost in thought. "Mercy," he whispered. "Did they show mercy to New Terra?" Lin hesitated. "No, sir." Reyes turned slowly, his face calm, but his eyes heavy. "Then let history remember this day as justice, not revenge," gave the final command quietly. "Ceasefire. Order all ships to stand down. The war is over." Across the fleet, the guns went silent. Engines dimmed. The terrible noise of destruction faded, leaving only the hum of space and the slow beating of human hearts. In that silence, soldiers of Earth felt both pride and sorrow. They had avenged their fallen, but at a cost that words could not measure. Thousands of human. Ships drifted quietly above the ruined planet, their lights glowing softly like candles in the dark. One by one, they began to turn away. Their mission was done. A week later, the Terran Grand Armada returned home as Earth came into view. Bright, alive, the crews on every ship stood at attention. Screens across every colony lit up as the fleet arrived in orbit. Crowds gathered in cities, cheering and crying at the same time. The heroes were back, but they were not the same people who had left. On the Vengeance, Admiral Reyes looked at the Earth and said quietly, "We left as warriors. We return as witnesses." A grand ceremony was held on Luna, Earth's moon. Leaders from every colony, every fleet, and every world came together beneath a massive glass dome. With the stars shining above them, at the center of the hall stood a tall memorial black stone, graved with thousands of names. The title carved at the top read, "In memory of New Terra, we do not forget." Governor Lara Hale's final transmission was played one last time for the audience. Her calm, desperate voice echoed through the silent hall. "If anyone receives this, humanity must remember us." When the recording ended, no one spoke. Even the soldiers who had faced death without fear now stood with tears in their eyes. Admiral Reyes stepped forward to speak. His voice carried across the dome, strong but full of emotion. 50 million people died on New Terra. Families, children, dreamers. They were our brothers and sisters. We did not fight for revenge. We fought so their memory would not fade into the dark. Today, humanity stands united. We have shown the galaxy who we are, not because of our strength, but because of our will. Let every world remember this day, not as the day we destroyed an empire, but as the day we proved we will never again be silenced. The crowd stood in silence for a moment, then began to clap softly, a slow, respectful rhythm that grew into a thunder of unity. That night, back aboard the Vengeance, Reyes walked alone through the silent corridors. He entered the observation chamber and looked out at the stars. In the distance, a small probe drifted by, carrying the symbol of New Terra, glowing faintly blue. It was part of a memorial satellite network that would orbit forever, one transmitting the same message into the galaxy. We remember. Reyes smiled faintly. Yes, he said softly. We do. Years passed. The Zathri rebuilt their world, but they never forgot what humanity had done. They never attacked again. No one did. The name New Terra became more than a tragedy. It became a promise that wherever humanity went, no matter how far, they would never allow another world to fall in silence. The narrator's closing words could deliver the final punch for your YouTubeaudience.com. Slow, emotional. In the end, it wasn't the fire that defined humanity's revenge. It was the memory. They destroyed one world but awakened 1,000 hearts. And through the ashes of war, the stars themselves learned to whisper one truth. We do not forgive. We do not forget. We are human.